This program is brought to you by the Genesis Communications Network, a world leader in talk radio since 1998. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Welcome to the Stone Zone for the Stone Cold Truth here on the Genesis Communications Network. Yes, the kid is back. Last week I had a severe bout of laryngitis. Anybody who caught me on the Frank Morano show last Sunday on AM 970, The Answer, knows that about mid-show my voice gave out. That's because last week the Clintons' War on Women, a book I'm very proud of, came out in paperback, and in 24 hours I did a record 16 radio shows, one speech out in Middlesex, New Jersey, in Old Bridge for the Women's Republican Club, and a couple podcasts, and frankly, it was just too much. So after a short recovery, I'm back. The bounce is back in my step. The timbre is back in my voice, and it is debate time. This is going to be one of the great mudders of all time, in my opinion. Now, historically, of course, debates have not really affected presidential politics, with a few notable examples, the most famous one being the Nixon-Kennedy debate. Dwight Eisenhower and Republican National Chairman Len Hall, who was also a Republican congressman from Long Island, both advised Vice President Richard Nixon not to debate the young Jack Kennedy so as to deprive young Kennedy of the national coverage that would benefit him. Vice President Nixon being substantially better known than the young senator from Massachusetts. Nixon assured both Eisenhower and Chairman Hall that he would not debate Kennedy, whereupon he quickly accepted Kennedy's challenge for not one, not two, not three, but 4 debates. Now, after Labor Day, Nixon bumped his knee on a car door and developed a staph infection that put him in the hospital for 2 solid weeks while he watched John Kennedy crisscross the nation, barnstorming the 10 or 12 swing states and pulling out to a small lead. Nixon came roaring out of the hospital, ahead of his doctor's advice, still running a fever, still on antibiotics, 15 pounds underweight. He made 5 stops with 5 rally speeches on the way to Chicago. Meanwhile, Senator Kennedy got to Chicago early and spent the day sunning himself on the hotel roof with 2 hookers. Teddy White, who invented a whole new genre of political journalism with his book, The Making of the President, 1960, recorded that John Kennedy looked like a bronzed god when he went to the sound check, which is kind of like the weigh-in at a prize fight. And it was there that John Kennedy pulled one of the great political head fakes of all time. When a CBS functionary said, "Senator Kennedy, will you be using makeup for the debate?" The already tan Kennedy said, "No makeup for me." Hearing this, Vice President Richard Nixon was asked, "Mr. Vice President, will you be using makeup?" No makeup for me." Whereupon John Kennedy went to his dressing room where he was made up by his personal makeup man who'd been flown in from New York. Now, the story only goes downhill from there. Nixon's advisors begged him to utilize makeup. And he said, "Well, all right, but just a little bit to de-emphasize my 3 o'clock shadow." And they sent a guy out to a drugstore to get a product called Beard Stick, which was meant to hide the 3 o'clock shadow. And they applied it, and Nixon went into the debate where he was outflanked by the dashing, tan, particularly well-dressed John Kennedy. Kennedy wore a navy blue suit, a white shirt, and a subdued tie. Nixon wore a gray suit, a white shirt, and a gray tie. They say his suit was basically the same color as his face. As the debate progressed and Nixon saw that Senator Kennedy was scoring off with him repeatedly, and by the way, moving to to Nixon's right on Cuba, on the non-existent missile gap, Nixon began to sweat. As he began to sweat, the beard stick began to run. Now, it is true that those who heard the debate on radio thought Nixon had prevailed, but those who saw the debate on television, an enormous audience, had a new impression of John Kennedy.
I think if the United States is maintaining a strong society here in the United States, I think that we can meet any internal threat. The major threat is external and will continue.
Mr. Nixon, comment?
I agree with Senator Kennedy's appraisal generally in this respect. The question of communism within the United States has been one that has worried us in the past. It is one that will continue to be a problem for years to come.
In fact, Mayor Richard J. Daley of Chicago, sitting with his political cronies, told a Chicago Tribune reporter, "Good God, Nixon's not even dead yet, and they've already embalmed him." Nixon's own mother called Rosemary Woods, his personal secretary, to say, "Is Richard unwell?" Now, there's more to this story, because what they've told you is not the entire truth. It is true that the first debate had the largest audience, but in subsequent debates, Nixon underwent a regimen of milkshakes to bring his weight up, because his collar was actually too big in the first debate. He was swimming in it. He got himself a sun lamp to affect a tan. He came back in debate 2, much stronger, even stronger in debate 3, and by all measured, he wiped up the floor with Kennedy in debate 4. What they don't tell you is that the audience for debate 4 was almost as large as the audience for debate 1. That's why the 1960 race was a photo finish, which I argue in 2 of my books, Nixon's Secrets and The Man Who Killed Kennedy. The case against LBJ was in fact stolen from him. The other debate, of course, that really mattered was the famous Reagan-Carter debate, where Reagan asked rhetorically, "Are you better off today than you were 4 years ago?" The famous Reagan-Mondale debate, in which he said to Vice President Mondale, "I will not use the relative youth and inexperience of my opponent as an issue," bringing down the House. And, of course, there is the famous debate in which Gerald Ford, for some odd reason, denied that Poland was controlled and under the control of the Soviet Union. So we have a historical precedent. There's going to be an enormous audience for this debate. And I will tell you that Donald Trump is not preparing like politicians prepare for debates. He is not working with some Hillary stand-in. He's not standing at a podium. He's not doing any of those things. But I predict to you that he's going to be terrific because he's a natural. We've got a great show for you today. We're going to talk about the debate throughout the show. We've got Gerald Posner, author of Case Closed, an incredibly misguided book, but a success nonetheless that bolsters the conclusions of the Warren Commission. We have Lionel, a raconteur, boulevardier, man about town, one of my favorite people, a guy who can speak and hold my attention on any subject. Marijuana lawyer Tyler Nixon to talk about Marijuana Nation and how marijuana is now legally sweeping the nation. Former New York City Council President Andy Stein is going to talk about his Wall Street Journal piece this week on why he cannot vote for Hillary as a lifelong Democrat. And former President Ronald Reagan is going to pop in for a few words about the debate. So you've come to the right place here at the Stone Zone, at the Stone Cold Truth.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
We use mobile devices right against our bodies every day, but growing scientific evidence has emerged showing serious health risks associated with exposure to EMF radiation emitted from these devices. The solution is Defender Shield, the most effective mobile radiation shielding ever developed. Defender Shield blocks virtually 100% of EMF radiation from cell phones, tablets, and laptops, and starts at just $64.99. Buy now at DefenderShield.com. For 10% off, use promo code GCN. DefenderShield.com, the worldwide leader in mobile radiation shielding.
Roger Stone, New York Times best-selling author, brings you Nixon's Secrets. Nixon's Secrets shows how Hillary Clinton was fired from the 1974 Nixon impeachment committee staff for lying and violating Nixon's rights, and how Hillary tried unsuccessfully to block Nixon from the Clinton White House. No wonder Nixon, upon meeting Hillary for the first time, said, "She's cold. Cold as ice." Find out more at stonecoldtruth.com. In the New York Times best-selling book, The Man Who Killed Kennedy, The Case Against LBJ, Roger Stone has gathered documents and uses his first-hand knowledge to construct the ultimate book to prove that LBJ was not only involved in JFK's assassination, but he was in fact the mastermind. Find out how, and much more, in The Man Who Killed Kennedy, The Case Against LBJ. Get yours today at lbjkilledjfk.com.
Worried about lead, fluoride, and other contaminants in your drinking water? Get a ProPure with the Pro 1G 2.0 cleanable reusable filter and remove up to 200 contaminants. Drink water the way nature meant it to be. Clean, crisp, and refreshing. See the complete line of ProPure products, including the new ProMax shower filter. There's a ProPure for you. Visit your authorized ProPure dealer for details or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson Adam Pulaski of the Pulaski Law Firm with principal office in Houston, Texas is the attorney responsible for the content of this ad. This ad is not legal advice, and the choice of a lawyer should not be based solely upon advertisement. Services may not be available in all states.
Attention Xarelto users. If you or a loved one took Xarelto and suffered a serious bleeding event, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Xarelto is a popular prescription blood thinner used to prevent blood clots and protect patients from strokes. These serious bleeding events have led to numerous cases of hospitalization and even death. Phone lines are open 24/7. Call 800-261-0937. That's 800-261-0937.
Warning. If you're drowning in debt you can't afford, do not let the credit card companies trick you into thinking that you have to pay it all back, because you don't. What the credit card companies don't want you to know is that there's actually a way to get debt-free without paying off your entire debt or going bankrupt. If you have $5,000 or more in credit card debt, you now have the right to settle that debt for a fraction of what you owe. For free information, call Credit Associates now. 1-800-954-9674. We'll even show you how much money you could save. If you can't afford to pay off all your debt, do not let the credit card companies trick you into thinking that you have to. Call Credit Associates now for free information on how to get debt-free faster than you ever thought possible without debt consolidation or bankruptcy. We depend on your success and offer a guarantee, so there's no risk. For free information, call now. 1-800-954-9674. That's 1-800-954-9674. 1-800-954-9674.
This is Dan Pilla. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX, or my website, danpilla.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 40th President of the United States. Welcome to the Stone Cold Truth, the Gipper himself, President Ronald Reagan.
Well, thank you, Roger, and it's good to hear your voice again. It's been a long time, and I'm glad you're still out there fighting the good fight and promoting real conservative causes, at least the ones that you and I always talked about, fiscal responsibility.
Well, I am, of course, greatly privileged to have you here, Mr. President. This is an exciting week. We are headed for the presidential debate, where I think Donald Trump is very underestimated. I'm reminded of the fact that in 1976, if you read Hamilton Jordan's biography, which is a great little book about politics of that time, he actually says that Carter wanted to run against you. They thought you were a pushover, and of course they learned otherwise. So what advice would you have for Donald Trump? Now, you're an old performer. You understand television, having come from that world. What's your advice for the Trumpster?
Well, I would say do what I did, which is just be yourself. Of course, you have a couple of zingers that you set aside, as you know. The one that I did about I paid for this microphone, Mr. Bream. That was one that I had set aside. But basically, you look the other person in the face, you look at the moderator, and you don't get nervous. You just be yourself. So the people out there in TV land and up here in heaven, we see what you got, and that's what people like. They like a genuine individual. Now, I don't understand how Hillary's going to pull this off without a teleprompter because she's so bad off her feet. And this is the strength that Donald has, is that he's good off his feet. And that in this day and age, this is what people like. It's refreshing to see someone talk off the cuff and not worry about the fallout if he makes an error here or there. They'll forgive him as long as he's just telling things out of his heart, where she's going to go in there totally scripted.
Well, I have thought from the beginning that Trump was a very Reagan-esque figure, a very Reagan-esque candidate. Like you, sir, he was an outsider. You came from the world of show business. He comes from the world of business. You got some hard lessons as a union president. He got hard lessons in the Manhattan real estate market, where, let's face it, Putin looks like a pussycat next to, say, Zeckendorf or Lefrak. How do you think Trump is advantaged from not coming from the world of politics?
Well, what's good about him, as you know, I've never been a big fan of the Eastern establishment, the bankers and all that, and Wall Street, and neither has Trump. Trump has distanced himself from the people like Bush, and most people don't like those people anyway. It was the only choice that they had, is the establishment people. He comes from the non-establishment world, and that's what gives him the advantage. He can reinvent this party and open it up to a whole new class of voters out there. He's doing the party a favor by bringing in people that normally would vote Democrat.
I was not shocked yesterday, but I want to get your impression to read that your old vice president, George H.W. Bush, announced that he's going to be voting for Hillary. What do you make of that?
Well, he probably still has some ties to the, I'm sure he does. Remember, he's with that big group, that defense contracting group with Frank Carlucci. They're probably expecting some contracts when Hillary gets in, because Carlyle Group, she is an adventurist. She likes wars of intrigue, and this is good for the Carlyle Group and others like that. Trump will be less, trigger happy, and this is not good for people like George. He's thinking about his pocketbook right here and how he can make some money. And Hillary's the one, the best vessel to maximize profits for the Carlyle Group or groups of that kind. And so that's the main reason. These are always financially motivated, and it's not about idealism or principle.
Well, I think that's a shrewd analysis. Of course, you know, the Bushes and the Clintons go way back, all the way back to Mena, Arkansas, when the Central Intelligence Agency trafficked millions of dollars worth of cocaine into the...
And Roger, I did not know about that. This was all being done behind my back. As you know, I've always been not a happy camper when it came to drugs. And so you had some rogue figures like George H.W. Bush and the Clintons there, which I had no idea this was going on. He double-crossed me, and I almost got tripped up over it in 86.
Yeah, no, I have no doubt whatsoever that Colonel Oliver North and Vice President Bush kept you in the dark, sir. That's what you told the people, and they believed you. So I want to thank you for coming to the Stone Zone. I want you to give my warmest regards to Mrs. Reagan, who has joined you
Nancy
recently.
Is listening right now, and she always had fond memories of you being around 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. You were always a man with a good sense of humor and straight talker, and I'm glad your show's doing well. And continue the good work there, Roger.
Well, God bless you, Mr. President, and thanks for dropping in for the Stone Cold Truth.
Anytime. Thank you. Nancy, that was Roger Stone. Wasn't he good? Thank you.
All right, now we've got a few minutes for a segment that has been very popular in our early shows called Ask Roger Anything. My colleague Travis Irvine is somewhere on a Trailways bus between New York and Ohio. I don't know who takes the bus anymore, but he does. So standing in for him today is AM 970's morning host on Sundays, Frank Morano. Frank, fire away.
Thank you, Roger. We have actually hundreds of questions that have come in through the Ask Roger Stone form, and people, if they want to do so, can go to stonecoldtruth.com and submit questions for you. This question comes from Stacy Hanna, who asks, Trump has my vote. However, Hillary's ads are much better and everywhere. Trump needs to discuss Hillary's defense of a pedophile and laughing about getting him off. Any suggestions for Mr. Trump on how he should handle this?
That's actually an excellent question. You're referring to the famous case of Kathy Shelton. Kathy Shelton was raped as a 12-year-old. She was in a coma for 5 days. And when she emerged, she learned that Hillary Clinton, as a favor to the prosecutor, would be representing her rapist. Hillary Clinton said on the stand, accused her of fantasizing about sex with older men, flirting with older men, and essentially called her a slut. It is also interesting that the courthouse crowd lost the police records and the hospital records in this case. A 12-year-old whose life was turned upside down by a rapist, he got off with 2 months. Yes, Hillary Clinton slut-shamed her and destroyed this woman's life, and there's going to be a lot of discussion about this in the next couple days.
Very quickly here, Roger, one listener writes, what are the chances that there will be an electoral vote tie of 268 to 268?
I think it is unlikely, but of course this is politics and anything's possible. If you think this is political, wait till you see what would happen in the U.S. House of Representatives if that should happen.
In the New York Times best-selling book, The Man Who Killed Kennedy, The Case Against LBJ, Roger Stone has gathered documents and uses his first-hand knowledge to construct the ultimate book to prove that LBJ was not only involved in JFK's assassination, but that he was in fact the mastermind. Find out how, and much more, in The Man Who Killed Kennedy, The Case Against LBJ. Get yours today at lbjkilledjfk.com. New York Times best-selling author Roger Stone brings you Nixon's Secrets. In Nixon's Secrets, Stone reveals how the Kennedys wiretapped Nixon's hotel room the night before the Nixon-Kennedy debate and stole Nixon's medical records from his psychiatrist's office. Stone lays out how Kennedy's running mate Lyndon Johnson stole Texas from JFK through voter fraud, while Mayor Richard Daley stole Illinois, and how JFK actually lost the popular vote. Get Nixon's Secrets today at stonecoldtruth.com.
Have you checked your Google search results lately? Search results are usually the first impression that people form of you or your business, so make sure that they create a positive impression with ReputationDefender.com. What the internet says about you can have a big impact on your life and your livelihood, even if it's not true. Fortunately, you can now control how you look online and in online search results with ReputationDefender.com. Call 800-831-0771 now. That's 800-831-0771 for your free reputation analysis. If you have negative material from an ex-employee, upset patient, or former client, newspaper article, legal issue, social media, or other source showing up in your search results, you can combat it with ReputationDefender.com. Our dedicated experts in patented technology can help make your online search results look their best. Call 800-831-0771 to learn more. 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Or visit ReputationDefender.com.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, the inventor of MyPillow, and like all of you out there, I had problems sleeping. Pillows would go flat, I would flip-flop all night long, I would wake up with a sore neck, maybe a headache, or feel like I needed a nap even though I slept 8 hours. When I invented MyPillow, I wanted it to where you can move the patented fill to give you the exact support you need as an individual, regardless of sleep position. MyPillow will get you into that deep REM sleep faster, and you will stay there longer. It's not about how much time we spend in bed, it's about how much of that quality sleep we get. I do all of my own manufacturing right here in the United States. I have a 10-year warranty. You can wash and dry my pillow, and I give you a 60-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. And here's my best offer ever. You can buy one of my pillows and get one absolutely free.
Go to mypillow.com or call 800-870-0305 and use promo code GCN. That's mypillow.com or 800-870-0305 with promo code GCN.
Will the government protect your family from Iran and North Korea's newest weapon, EMP? We buy guns to protect ourselves, home, health, and car insurance for accidents. Maybe you also have food storage. But how would you keep your refrigerator running in a long-term EMP blackout? Using tested military designs, the Solarc EMP-hardened solar generator protects and powers your critical appliances for years without burying items underground or wrapping them in aluminum foil. Unlike other preps, Solarc is used every day to help offset your electric bill automatically. Visit PortableSolarLLC.com to learn how easily expandable the system is. Solarc is the most affordable and powerful solution on the market. The whole system even fits in the back of a pickup or SUV and can install in less than an hour. See for yourself why Solarc beats other off-grid systems at PortableSolarLLC.com. Don't wait for the government. Go to PortableSolarLLC.com to learn why Solarc is energy insurance for your family.
Welcome back to the Stone Cold Truth here on the Genesis Communications Network. We're broadcasting from the Stone Zone. And now I'm going to return the favor because not many days ago I was on with Nick from the Bikers for Trump, and we had a great little turn on his podcast. And now I'm privileged to have him here join us here in the Stone Zone. The Bikers for Trump is a phenomena. These guys are great. They have provided security for the Trump rallies. These are red-blooded American patriots on their hogs. And I am privileged to have Nick join us now in the Stone Zone. Nick, welcome.
How the hell are you? Welcome, Nick Knight here. And I'm out at the wall site right now, you know. We're building that wall that we sent you a brick about. And we've been really getting excited about what's going on in the polls and how things are turning around with with Kelly Conway helping things out and really turning it around and watching Hillary fall like a bag of meat.
Yeah, it's really extraordinary. I mean, 3 years ago, I said she had degenerative diseases because I heard that from a number of high-level New York Democrats. I was thrashed by the folks at CNN for being irresponsible. Now, guess what? She didn't look to me like she's going to make the finish line. What do you think, Nick?
I think her theme song for her campaign should be that song by U2 called Vertigo.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, because she's so unstable. Who wants to give her nuclear codes when she says, well, I don't recall, getting a briefing. I don't recall this. I don't recall that. I don't recall. That's like the old days when, it's, deny it and it's not a lie. I don't know.
Well, Stone's 3 rules: admit nothing, deny everything, launch counterattack. Now, I'm concerned about her alcohol consumption because my sources tell me she's a boozer. She likes the white wine. She likes the Chablis. Doesn't that make sense?
She likes vodka.
Chablis, yeah, and she likes to wash, the brie cheese down with a little vodka. From what I hear, I really don't think she has the mental acuity, the balance, or the stamina for what's got to be the toughest job in the entire world.
She talks about Trump with his temperament. Let's talk about temperament a minute here. Let's talk about the fact that here's a woman that has the cojones to go and delete thousands upon thousands of emails and then have a fall guy who, by the way, today, it was this week, whatever. The guy goes up in front of Congress and he gets held in contempt. I'm sorry, but to be held in contempt of Congress right now is like getting a parking ticket on Sesame Street by Officer Big Bird.
Yeah, it's not much of a penalty. Here's what's interesting, of course. When she went in front of the FBI, she couldn't remember anything. I bet you she doesn't have trouble remembering things Monday night. Now suddenly her memory is going to return. That's the most obvious act of fraud that I have seen. So tell us about the Bikers for Trump, because Nick Knight, you have been in the forefront, and I was...
One second before that. She needs to produce at least one yoga email.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think there are none. That'd be my guess. Exactly.
Right, unless, of course, she's doing yoga with Sheikh Mohammed.
Well, what's odd here, of course, is that somebody made the decision that the heat they would take for using an unsecure server and deleting these emails would be less than if the emails were turned over and publicly read. That's how we know whatever's in them is dynamite.
And then tries to throw Colin Powell under the bus. And, come on, guys. This is insane.
Yeah, he isn't.
Leave the guy alone. It's bad enough that he decided that he wanted to support Obama. Okay? We'll give him that. All right? He did that. Now you got George H.W. Bush coming out saying he's voting for Hillary. I think Rance Priebus needs to do us all a favor. And Rance, if you're listening to this, I'm putting you on notice. And all of us, thousands of bikers nationwide, are putting you on notice. You must kick out anyone that refuses to back Donald J. Trump, the GOP nominee.
No,
I don't care if it's Ted Cruz. I don't care if it's George H.W. Bush. I don't care if it's Mitt Romney. Any of them. Kick them out.
Well, I'm of the view that having those elitist, dilettante country club Republicans oppose you is probably actually a plus, because this election isn't Republicans versus Democrats. This is the elite of the Republican and Democratic parties that have screwed up this country versus the outsiders, people like Nick Knight and Roger Stone and Donald Trump and all other Americans.
It's America versus socialism.
I couldn't agree more. And in Trump, you've got a guy who I've known for almost 40 years. And I'm just telling you, this guy has brass balls.
I don't agree with everything he says, and nor should I. Because if I was somebody that did agree with everything he said, I would be a Hillary Clinton supporter, because I would be a stamped out yes man that said, okay, but this is a guy that can go in from the outside, clean up the problems that we have in Congress, clean up the problems that we have in D.C., and you know what? That's what needs to be done. Term limits are a great idea, and he's the guy that can bring it. But these guys are shaking in their boots because the gravy train has just derailed. Because if Trump gets in there, there's no more. And, oh, God, what will we do? Where are we going to get our kickbacks from? It ain't going to be from this administration, because the current regime is so disgusting and so, well, I'll use Hillary's word, deplorable, even though deplorables now become a term of endearment. I must say, it's coming to an end. November 8th, it's all going to happen. And you know what? We are all, our next thing that we're doing, I'm going to tell you what's going on with the bikers here.
Yep.
What we're doing right now is we're building this memorial wall, which people can get a brick or buy 2 bricks, and they get one. If you order 2 bricks, one goes on the wall and one we sent to you, like we sent to you. But the people ask, where's the money going from it? I'll tell you where the money's going for. Construction's not free. We use real American labor. These bricks are made in America. They're made in Estero, Florida, by the way, and they are laser engraved. So our next thing is any money that's left over out of that, we are going to use to man the polls on November 8th, because we want to make sure that there's no funny business going on, people double voting, things like that. We're going to try to get as many people in all 50 states out to the polls. We have been recruiting people to register to vote, making sure that they know you vote once. This is not American Idol. You vote once, that's it. We want to make sure that people that are trying to vote twice get convicted, thrown to the hoosegow. Hey, send them to Gitmo. Let's keep that open. That's a great place for them. But we are trying to make this an even playing field. We will be present at polls nationwide. Come hell or high water, Donald J. Trump will be sworn in on January 20th, 2017.
All right. That was Nick Knight. Thanks for joining us, Nick. A real patriot, one of the leaders of Bikers for Trump. I am honored that you guys sent me a brick. I cannot
Hey, Roger.
Yes, sir.
Roger. Make sure everybody goes and orders a brick today at borderwallbricks.com.
You heard it there, folks. Borderwallbricks.com. Get your brick on your name today and support the Bikers for Trump. Many thanks, Nick.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks.
Are you worried about your mom or dad living alone in their house? Hi, I'm Joan London. Listen, I know how difficult it is to find senior care for someone you love. That's why I recommend a free service called A Place for Mom. They are the nation's largest senior living referral service. Call A Place for Mom today.
To receive free information on senior living communities in your area, call A Place for Mom at 1-800-704-6182.
A Place for Mom offers free one-on-one advice from local advisors and a personalized list of senior living communities you can visit. If you have questions about senior care for your mom or dad, there's a place for answers, A Place for Mom.
Call A Place for Mom in the next 10 minutes to get your free ebook on financing senior care as well as free information on senior living communities in your area. Call 1-800-704-6182. That's 1-800-704-6182.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Investment Rarities, a 43-year-old company, has created the best silver offer ever. Get a U.S. Silver Eagle, Canadian Maple Leaf, Austrian Philharmonic, OPM Pierre Bar, and Silver Round. Have all 5 for $99 postpaid. You heard me right, 5 ounces of silver below cost. No credit card fees, free shipping. Just $99 and you'll have a great start on what it takes to survive even the worst economic storm. Act now and receive Jim Cook's exclusive paper explaining how it's possible to make a fortune in silver today. Don't miss this opportunity. Call 800-328-1860. Read how the above-ground supply of silver has dropped below even gold. The secret is being suppressed. The price could explode at any time. Call today at 800-328-1860. Get 5 ounces of silver for only $99. Find them on the web at investmentrarities.com or call 800-328-1860. Call now before it's too late. 800-328-1860.
GCN and Longevity are bringing Dr. Wallach to Hawaii for the first time in 20 years. Hi, I'm Jamel Bookaboo, Vice Presidential Marketing Director with Longevity and the GCN team. Exclusive to GCN, you have the opportunity to meet and greet Dr. Joel Wallach for leaders that want to support GCN, your health and wealth. Visit wallachhawaii.com, teamg'day.com, or call 808-436-5025. 808-436-5025.
Attention small business owners. Want to save money on your employee health insurance plan? Learn the little-known solution that could save thousands of dollars on your health insurance benefits and save your employees money, too. Call Health Markets for a free consultation, and one of our 3,000 local agents will show you how to make healthcare reform work for you. We'll design customized solutions for your business that can lower healthcare costs for you and your employees. We'll work directly with you to determine your needs. We search thousands of health plans from over 180 health insurance companies nationwide. You'll also find out if tax credits could save you money. Best of all, the service is free of charge. See why Health Markets has enrolled Americans in more than 2 million insurance policies. You don't have to wait for open enrollment to lower your cost. Call now. Find out how much you and your employees could be saving.
Representatives are standing by to assist you. Call 800-930-5137. That's 800-930-5137. 800-930-5137.
Introducing the fastest-growing digital currency company in the world, OneLife. With over 2.1 million members, OneCoin is becoming the most powerful force in digital currency. It reached over $1 billion in revenue in its first year. No other company has accomplished such an impressive feat. Now you can achieve financial independence with the strength of OneLife. Find out how to build your financial dreams. 877-933-4747. 877-933-4747. Dedicated to helping you create financial abundance.
Welcome back to the Stone Cold Truth. You're broadcasting here from the Stone Zone. And today I'm privileged to have Lionel. You can read his stuff at lionelmedia.com. He is a raconteur, a boulevardier, a man about town, a bon vivant, a lawyer, a writer, an analyst, someone I followed for a long time, and I want to make the best of our time here. So, Lionel, welcome to the Stone Zone.
Thank you, sir. Honored to be here.
So, I'm familiar with your background as a prosecutor. I remember your Florida days. I think you were in Tampa, were you not?
Correct.
So, tell me your analysis now on the Hillary email scandal. This is a scandal that never seems to end. Every week there seems to be a new tidbit, a new nuance. Does she have any real long-term legal jeopardy? I know she has political jeopardy. I think we're going to see that in Monday's debate. But give me your legal analysis.
Well, the number one way to answer any legal question is with this gem, it depends. If she were you or me, if she were just a regular citizen, if she did not have these connections, if she did not have Barack Obama protecting her, she absolutely faces serious criminal exposure, liability, and the like. Not only does she have that going for her, she also has the Ted Baxter, sock puppet, mainstream media, who look the other way and act as a rodeo clown to distract the attention of the public from it. The average person thinks that these little picadillos, these little mistakes, are just trifling little irrelevant problems with the sea or weather, whatever. I've just got to say, I have never in my life, and I've been doing color commentary since the Harding administration, and ever since Warren Gamaliel came along, and I kid, of course, but I have never seen a fundamentally corrupt, putrescent, fetid organization and candidate like Hillary Clinton. It never ceases to amaze me. The biggest, if you had to list as a hierarchy of the number one, I guess you're part of the deplorables, the indictable offenses, the number one would be the criminal conspiracy of the Clinton Foundation and the Clinton Global Initiative, CGI. It's funny how that is a kind of a pun which indicates the appearance of some computer graphic. But This makes the Gambino crime family look like the Junior League in comparison. What has been done there is absolutely amazing. There is a trope and a meme and this axiom that's repeated, truly a meme to use Dawkins' terms, and it is that Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton did wonderful things for AIDS. No, they didn't.
No, actually they distributed drugs that were never approved by the FDA. They had no approval to do so. They hadn't even filed the proper papers to constitute the organization that did this. They probably caused more damage than they did good.
Can you imagine if Donald Trump even remotely was involved in anything as nefarious as that?
Yeah, no, it's an extraordinary double standard.
And what happens is then to bring up the birther thing, again, to give it an remember the birther, truther, deathers. This is something that Mark Penn, everybody knows, Sidney Blumenthal, 2007, we all know this. We know where it came from. And to look the country in the eye and say that Donald Trump did this. You know, God bless Trump for at least daring to bring up an Article 2 requirement. 35 years old, natural-born citizen, and a resident for 14 years. They almost got Herbert Hoover on that one. How dare he? He even broached the subject. Another sacrosanct subject is vaccines.
Yes.
God bless him for having the hubris and the chutzpah to ask a question. This is when I knew I loved him, because he dared to ask a question. Since when do we not ask questions? Then we have this very, very seriously, gravely ill woman, in extremis, who is not suffering from pneumonia
or the flu
or dehydration, the flu, or any of the other. And let me also just say, I am not gloating over her. Any of us who've had family members and parents who have suffered this, I don't dance over her hospital bed or grave as some people do. That's not what this is about. This is about a job, as you know, that depletes, that just saps the best of energy. And if she cannot handle an 11 p.m. reference to the Chelsea bombing versus a 3 a.m. hypothetical that she brought up, if she cannot handle that, if she is walking around with the Fresnel or Fresnel lenses to hide diplopia and double vision, the Zeiss 1 blue synthetic lenses for photosensitive epilepsy. I mean, look, you don't have to be a physician to know when somebody's dead or pregnant. And there's something wrong with her. So I can just go down the list. Here's my question. Tell me one thing she's ever said that's correct. Tell me one thing that she has said where you said, you know what, she's right about that.
Yeah, it's very difficult. You know, I did an interview on CNN 3 years ago with Brian Stelter, in which I said I had sources in the New York Democratic Party, people who moved in the same social circles as the Clintons, and they told me she had a degenerative disease, and they could not see how 3 years hence she would be in any shape to run for president. Of course, when I said that, he admonished me for rumor mongering, and I was wrong. 2 weeks ago, they put out a print statement in which they said, right-wing conspiracy theorist, by the way, that's not a compliment, Roger Stone is responsible for this whole question about Mrs. Clinton's health based on some document that was floating around the Internet, which I actually had never taken the time to read because I had no idea whether it was real or not real. So it's with some sense of satisfaction that I have been borne out, but my observations are based on my observations. It's clear to any clear-thinking person she doesn't look well. She doesn't act well. We've seen her need help to get up 3 steps of stairs. She's constantly falling down. We see these brain freezes in mid-sentence. It's kind of apparent to me, and you're absolutely right. It takes a certain mental acuity, balance, stamina. This is a killer job for the healthiest of people. And I literally don't think she's up to it. When we go into next week's debate, it is notable that Donald Trump insisted on standing, not sitting. Her people objected to that. They fought for a seated debate. They wanted breaks. There are no commercial or bathroom breaks. It's going to be 90 minutes wall to wall. I argue the format already benefits Trump. I'll be interested to see if she can stay on her feet for 90 minutes.
Well, you know, one of the things that he has done, you know, at first, I'm a bit, I think you describe yourself as a libertarian. My politics don't even have a name. It just not because I abstain from elections because I'm tacitly somehow consenting to my own imprisonment by acceding to this nonsense. That notwithstanding, he comes along and he says these things, and he taps into people and he says, look. And by the way, we could point to things like, well, he never said that Mexicans are rapists. It doesn't matter what he even said. He just came out. And I remember the first time I turned to my wife and said, well, that's it. He's through. In fact, I said, I don't even think he wants to do this. I think maybe he figured, look, the apprentice doesn't do it so hard. I'll do something to rank my Q rating up. I'll just go out and say a few words. And then that's it. Watch what I say about building walls. And well, guess what happens? He lives in an inverted parallel universe. His gravity doesn't exist. He goes through the roof. He took on 16 of the most formidable, serious opponents, governors, senators, a brain surgeon, an actual brain surgeon. We use that term all the time. What are you, some kind of a brain surgeon? Yes, he beat a brain surgeon, though maybe not the best example of one. And he destroyed them. Now, I'm hoping for the following thing. Because I know he's not really, he says he doesn't have a coach or a sparring partner. But I hope the first time she brings up Trump University, if she's stupid enough to do this, he says, I'm glad you brought that up. I want to talk about another university scandal, Laureate.
Yes, one of the great Ponzi scams of all time.
Ponzi? No.
A multi-million-dollar fraud.
Using the State Department. I mean, this shows an insidious, nefarious criminality, the likes of which I've never seen, sir.
Yeah, no, it makes Trump University look like a milk-fed puppy. All right, so many thanks to Lionel, who's joined us here on the Stone Cold Truth. I wish you could see him today because he's got his Groucho glasses on. He's got a perfect 3-button pinstripe suit, spread collar shirt, a man who is a serious contender for Mr. Stone's best and worst dressed list for 2016. Thank you, Lionel, for being here on Stone Cold Truth.
New York Times best-selling author Roger Stone brings you Nixon's Secrets. In Nixon's Secrets, Stone reveals how the Kennedys wiretapped Nixon's hotel room the night before the Nixon-Kennedy debate and stole Nixon's medical records from his psychiatrist's office. Stone lays out how Kennedy's running mate, Lyndon Johnson, stole Texas from JFK through voter fraud, while Mayor Richard Daley stole Illinois, and how JFK actually lost the popular vote. Get Nixon's Secrets today at StoneColdTruth.com. Roger Stone, New York Times best-selling author, brings you Nixon's Secrets. Nixon's Secrets shows how Hillary Clinton was fired from the 1974 Nixon Impeachment Committee staff for lying and violating Nixon's rights, and how Hillary tried unsuccessfully to block Nixon from the Clinton White House. No wonder Nixon, upon meeting Hillary for the first time, said, "She's cold, cold as ice." Find out more at StoneColdTruth.com.
This is Rick Ossick, president of Famous Footwear. Our company is working together with the March of Dimes through March for Babies to raise money and awareness about the serious problem of premature birth in the U.S. As a business leader, I know that babies born very sick or too soon cost businesses billions of dollars each year, in addition to the emotional stress on employees and their families. That's why Famous Footwear is committed to raising funds to improve the health of moms and babies everywhere. Won't you please join us in the March for Babies? Start a team today at marchforbabies.org.
In these uncertain times, it makes sense to have a sustainable backup method to cook food and boil water. If your current plan includes using a fuel-burning stove or cooking over an open fire, then there's a much better way. The Minuteman Rocket Stove is a biomass-burning cooking stove that only requires small quantities of sticks and twigs for fuel. The Minuteman Stove is easy to use, smokeless, portable, powerful, and sustainable. For the finest in survival cooking stoves and fire starters made right here in the USA, go to MinutemanStove.com. That's MinutemanStove.com.
This program is brought to you by the Genesis Communications Network. a world leader in talk radio since 1998. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Welcome back to the Stone Cold Truth here on the Genesis Communications Network. We're broadcasting from the Stone Zone, where we like our politics straight and raw. This is where you can hear the Stone Cold Truth, because politics ain't beanbag. And I've worked in the House, I've worked in the Senate, I've worked for 9 Republican presidential campaigns, 3 Republican presidents. I have seen the sausage being made, and it ain't pretty. Donald Trump's exactly right. The system is rigged by special interest money, rigged by the insiders, sadly, rigged by the neocons who have gotten us endless war, massive debt and spending, erosion of our civil liberties, bailouts for the crooks on Wall Street while average people can't find work, and a foreign policy that is incoherent at best and confusing, but always, always expensive. Now, for some time, I have written and said that I didn't believe Governor Chris Christie was out of the woods on the George Washington Bridge controversy. You remember that scandal, don't you? That's where aides to the governor closed lanes that went from Fort Lee, New Jersey, which is right on the water at the base of the bridge, going in and out of Manhattan. And they did this in retribution against the Fort Lee mayor, who is a Democrat, but who had been courted to endorse Governor Chris Christie in his reelection. And Christie has always maintained that this was done behind his back, that he had no knowledge, and that cover-up is beginning to crumble, as I have predicted. Now, I know Bill Baroni, who was one of the 2 aides in question. He was a very able state senator. He's a very decent person. It's hard for me to imagine him in this role, but he has pled guilty. And, of course, David Wildstein, the other aide, who is someone I've known since he was 13 years old, back in the days when he was a teenage Republican. He was actually, believe it or not, Harold Stassen's campaign manager in 1980. A guy who was active in Tom Kaine's early campaigns, had one pretty disastrous term as mayor of Livingston, New Jersey, and a soldier, a guy who would follow orders. Now he is the government's star witness. So I believe that a number of the Christie aides have been scapegoated, that the governor is a control freak. I have always believed that taking him on the ticket for vice president, for example, would have been a ticking time bomb. There's a civil suit in which Jerry Speziale, the former sheriff of Passaic, is suing the Port Authority and Wildstein for unjustified termination, a suit that he will lose because he piled up 1 or 2 of the police cruisers that belong to the Port Authority, refusing a breathalyzer test afterwards. This has also been covered up. I think Chris Christie has vulnerability in that case as well, because it is alleged that Speziale resigned as sheriff to take a top job at the Port Authority Police Department so that Christie could fill the sheriff's office with a crony. That would also be illegal. So Chris Christie, not out of the woods. Stay tuned. Back in the news again, this is like a bad penny. Anthony Weiner now sending obscene, licentious texts and photos to a 15-year-old girl. You know, I'm less concerned about Anthony Weiner than I am his estranged wife, Huma Abedin. I have written for Breitbart News that Huma Abedin comes from a family, her brothers, her parents, who have been active in the Muslim Brotherhood, in the World Muslim League, but more precisely in the Institute for Minority Muslim Affairs, which is a radical Muslim group, that she was the assistant editor of a publication that blames America for the attack on 9/11. In an extraordinary article profile in Vogue a couple weeks ago, Huma refers to her mother as a feminist. Her mother is the leading advocate for genital mutilation in the Muslim world. Feminist not. Nothing the woman has written could be called feminism unless you think it is feminist for a woman to have to seek the permission of her husband to travel, or if you think that not allowing women to drive a car or to own property or to vote or to go out in public without a veil is feminism. I don't. I kind of wonder what Gloria Steinem, who's campaigning this week for Hillary Clinton, would think of all this. But I'd like to see more focus on Huma, because both the World Muslim League and the Institute for Minority Muslim Affairs are both funded by the shady Saudi sheikh Omar Abdul Nassif, who we now know indisputably also financed the Rabitha Trust, which the U.S. Justice Department tells us was responsible for financing the attack on America on 9/11. I'd like to see Donald Trump talk more about that. I'd like to see Republicans talk more about that. Instead, John McCain's Institute, housed in Arizona, a nonprofit, kind of like the Clinton Foundation, recently took a $1 million contribution from the Saudis. Perhaps that's why he is defending Huma Abedin, and has defended her in the past. It's time for John McCain to admit that he was wrong about Huma. Yes, she's beautiful. Yes, she's chic. Yes, she's the belle of the ball inside the Beltway. I personally think she's a Saudi spy, and that her entire trajectory and biography reveals that. Also got to wonder about Barack Obama giving really his last speech to the United Nations General Assembly and using the opportunity to attack Donald Trump. Entirely inappropriate. Incredible. And then you have these more recent developments, the police killing in North Carolina. This is very disconcerting to me, because there is no blanket statement that can be made. If indeed the young black man who was killed had his hands up, did not possess a weapon, as his family said, then the police officer responsible for his death, officer or officers, must pay the highest possible penalty. As my sometimes friend Al Sharpton would say, no justice, no peace. But you have to wonder whether incidents like this don't benefit Donald Trump. The fact that we had a terrorist bombing in New York, which, by the way, the people at Media Matters for America mounted an enormous Twitter campaign to blame me, Roger Stone, for the bombing. Talk about beyond the pale. By the way, David Brock got busted this week for money laundering among a panoply of pro-Clinton PACs and think tanks and C4s and C3s. Lock him up, I say. No person is above the law, and that includes you, David Brock. We have a great lineup for the rest of our show. We have Tyler Nixon, who has been in the forefront of the movement to legalize marijuana, give us kind of an overview on what's going on in Marijuana Nation. We have former New York City Council President Andrew Stein, who told the Wall Street Journal this past week that he cannot vote for Hillary as a lifelong Democrat. And last but not least, author, New York Times bestseller, attorney Gerald Posner, to talk about U.S.-Saudi relations and the deep secrets of 9/11. So you've come to the right place here, the Stone Cold Truth, broadcasting from the Stone Zone.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
ProPure water filters, making water great again. Taste and feel the difference with state-of-the-art filter technology. Pro 1 G 2.0 and Pro Max filters are independent lab-tested to NSF standards. Choose from Gravity, Countertop, Pitcher, Shower, and Inline filtration products. There's a ProPure for you. Buy risk-free today. Visit your authorized ProPure dealer for details or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com. Roger Stone, New York Times best-selling author, brings you Nixon's Secrets. Nixon's Secrets shows how Hillary Clinton was fired from the 1974 Nixon impeachment committee staff for lying and violating Nixon's rights, and how Hillary tried unsuccessfully to block Nixon from the Clinton White House. No wonder Nixon, upon meeting Hillary for the first time, said, "She's cold. Cold as ice." Find out more at stonecoldtruth.com. In the New York Times best-selling book, The Man Who Killed Kennedy, The Case Against LBJ, Roger Stone has gathered documents and uses his first-hand knowledge to construct the ultimate book to prove that LBJ was not only involved in JFK's assassination, but he was in fact the mastermind. Find out how, and much more, in The Man Who Killed Kennedy, The Case Against LBJ. Get yours today at lbjkilledjfk.com.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson Adam Pileski of the Pileski Law Firm with principal office in Houston, Texas, is the attorney responsible for the content of this ad. This ad is not legal advice, and the choice of a lawyer should not be based solely upon advertisement. Services may not be available in all states. Attention Xarelto users. If you or a loved one took Xarelto and suffered a serious bleeding event, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Xarelto is a popular prescription blood thinner used to prevent blood clots and protect patients from strokes. These serious bleeding events have led to numerous cases of hospitalization and even death. Phone lines are open 24/7. Call 800-261-0937. That's 800-261-0937.
Has neck, back, or shoulder pain got you down? Go to sunshine-pillows.com and get soothing comfort, support, and pain relief fast. Their microwavable heat therapy pillows and wraps treat neck and shoulder pain, reduce stress, and relax the soul. An ergonomic pillow from Sunshine Pillows supports your head and neck on long trips or when simply resting at home. Be good to yourself. Visit sunshine-pillows.com. Sunshine-pillows.com.
Hello?
Congratulations.
For what?
For losing all that weight. How'd you do it so fast?
ASAP.
ASAP what? What's that mean?
Are you ready to get as skinny as possible, as soon as possible, as simple as possible, and as sexy as possible?
I'm listening.
Then get with the ASAP program. It's real and it works. No smooth talk, no slick advertising, and no exaggerated claims of success.
I've got to know more.
Welcome to ASAP, as slim as possible. Whether you have 10, 20, or 50 pounds to lose, ASAP is your weight loss answer. ASAP targets the abnormal fat reserves and makes them available to be burned as fuel and contains no caffeine or hormones. Order ASAP at wholesale prices or join the team to share the business with others. Go to GCNteam.com or call 855-GCN-MALL. That's 855-426-6255. GCNteam.com or 855-426-6255. Lose weight and look great with ASAP, as slim as possible.
Looking for that edge during those intimate moments? We see many ads for enhancement, but the side effects include death. At GCN Team, we should change the Healthy Body, Brain, and Heart Pack to the Healthy Libido Pack. The brain and heart are not the only organs that require a healthy vascular system. For proper blood flow at the right moment, go to GCNteam.com or call 877-878-4203. That's 877-878-4203. That's 877-878-4203.
Welcome back to the Stone Cold Truth, broadcasting from the Stone Zone. Some people call it ganja, others call it 420, marijuana, medicine for many, millions, I think. Today we're privileged to have lawyer, activist, conservative, Tyler Nixon, old friend of mine, a man who knows his way around a radio microphone. Tyler, welcome to the Stone Cold Truth.
Thanks so much for having me, Roger. It's great to be back with you again.
Now, you have been an early voice for the legalization of marijuana. You're now working in a law firm that is dealing with the legalization of marijuana in California. You've got a unique perspective on how far this issue has come in a very, very short period of time. It was not long ago that marijuana initiatives on the ballot were failing, narrowly failing, but failing. And then there seems to have been a great leap forward, as the Chinese would say, to where we are today. So what is the state of play in the marijuana world, and how do you see it as an industry and a business, as well as the, shall we say, medicinal benefits?
Well, sure. It's first of all, you left out the one word that we prefer in the biz, so to speak, which is cannabis, which is the technical name for it, marijuana being a word that has some racist roots to it. But, you know, I've always said to people who I would talk to about this issue, say up to 20 years ago, they would say, well, we'll never see it legalized in our lifetimes. And I said, I don't know about that. And I personally have been shocked by the pace of the progress of the liberation of our society, of various jurisdictions, of people from the yoke of the failed drug war, which has taken a plant and turned it into this subject of literally caging human beings, which is really what it comes down to. And I think that once this has taken off as it has, the momentum of people realizing that it's not the evil demon weed that the propagandists, the prohibitionists had portrayed it as, they realize that, first of all, it's not this societal horror that needs to be, we need to be arresting people, caging people for. And secondly, it has massive benefits, both medicinally, just in terms of general wellness and personal well-being, relaxation, enjoyment. If we don't have the right to self-ownership, we really have no rights, and I think that's fundamental. And the ability to use a natural substance like cannabis, however you want, and people think of it as, well, we smoke cannabis. No, actually, believe it or not, there's the edibles. There's a huge industry around growing around vaping, and it's more coming down to a lot of use of the oils, the essential oil that is extracted from the flower and turned into various different products that have just an amazing array of benefits for people, both in terms of medicine, in terms of healing. I think we'll look back 50 years from now, Roger, and think of this drug war. 50, if God willing, we're alive, but those who proceed come after us will look back and think of the drug wars, particularly with regard to cannabis, as barbaric. And that's exactly what it is, because it's not only subjugating people, but it has denied humanity the benefits of this amazing plant. And that's not even getting into hemp, which is one of the fastest growing biomasses, which hemp being the non-psychoactive version of cannabis, where you use the fiber and the oils, the fibers, and everything from hemp. Just rather than using the petrochemical technologies and artificial fibers and materials like nylon and so forth, it's just amazing. The founding fathers used it for rope, they literally made flags from it and materials, and it's just a huge industry, I think, Roger, that is going to really revolutionize the country in so many ways. Right now, I have, my background is in corporate law. I've worked in politics. This is the most dynamic industry that I've ever been exposed to in my life, period.
Now, let's go back to the Founding Fathers. I had heard on reliably good sources told me that Ben Franklin was a wake and bake guy, that first thing in the morning, cup of tea, hits the bong, and he's ready to start writing. And we know for a fact that Thomas Jefferson, of course, actually farmed hemp. That is a historical fact. And for a long period in this country, cannabis was legal. Is that not right?
That's correct. Yeah, that's the amazing thing. Cannabis has been used by human beings for, at least in recorded history, at least 5,000 years. So this entire drug prohibition, regime we've been living under is really just a creature of the last century or so.
Well, I would have to.
And frankly,
go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say we're living in the 21st century under 19th century pseudo morality, and it has racist roots. I mean, I'm not one to cry racism. I'm libertarian conservative. I certainly don't believe in collectivism. But the bottom line is that these laws were put into place by a very small few in the early 20th century in order to effectively target racial groups. With marijuana was the Mexicans. With the opioids and opium, it was the Chinese. And then with cocaine, it was African Americans. So, there's that stain on it. But on top of it, the bottom line is the drug war doesn't work. You can be against drug addiction, drug abuse, substance abuse, whatever have you. But the bottom line is it does not work to do it by prohibition. And worse, the worst of it, Roger, is, as you well know, it has been a Trojan horse to gut the Constitution and our core civil liberties and protections enshrined in the Bill of Rights. The Fourth Amendment has absolutely become a series of exceptions written by judges, largely in drug cases, frankly, where they can send dogs around your car and they can, it's this whole, really just sort of Rube Goldbergian mechanism of, what our rights are. And it's, effectively comes down to, as I said at the beginning, do you own yourself? Can you, and do you own your mind? In the end, what they're saying is not, we don't want you to possess these substances, which is, sort of the backdoor route they've taken. They're saying we don't want you to be able to be in control of your own consciousness, to be able to alter it as you wish, except, of course, for alcohol, right? And that being the case, drug control really is mind control, if you get down to it.
Yeah, I always found it extraordinary that the state legalizes and regulates alcohol, the results of which I think are far more damaging from a health point of view, has no real medicinal quality, perhaps other than perhaps a glass of red wine now and then. And it's hard for me to decide whether my hero, Richard Nixon's greatest mistake was taking us off the gold standard, closing the gold window, or the war on drugs. But you're right, we have rehabilitated no one. We have a prison population that is expensive. It's caused a cottage industry around these prisons. And we're turning out, to the extent that people get out, they come out hardened criminals for all nonviolent crimes. I'm not talking about drug kingpins. I'm talking about individual users. So the revolution that we're seeing is extraordinary. I salute you, Tyler, for being in the forefront of it. And I want to thank you again for coming here to the Stone Cold Truth.
Great to be with you, Roger.
In the New York Times best-selling book, The Man Who Killed Kennedy, The Case Against LBJ, Roger Stone has gathered documents and uses his first-hand knowledge to construct the ultimate book to prove that LBJ was not only involved in JFK's assassination, but that he was in fact the mastermind. Find out how, and much more, in The Man Who Killed Kennedy, The Case Against LBJ. Get yours today at lbjkilledjfk.com. New York Times best-selling author Roger Stone brings you Nixon's Secrets. In Nixon's Secrets, Stone reveals how the Kennedys wiretapped Nixon's hotel room the night before the Nixon-Kennedy debate and stole Nixon's medical records from his psychiatrist's office. Stone lays out how Kennedy's running mate Lyndon Johnson stole Texas from JFK through voter fraud, while Mayor Richard Daley stole Illinois, and how JFK actually lost the popular vote. Get Nixon's Secrets today at StoneColdTruth.com.
Is negative content or comments on the web affecting your personal or professional reputation? Unfavorable comments, embarrassing pictures, videos, legal documents, and negative articles can ruin your personal life, your career, or your business. It happens a lot, and it's just not fair. But what can you do? ReputationDefender.com can help protect your good name. Get a free consultation now. Call 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Call right now for a free expert expert reputation analysis. It's easy to squash the unfair attacks with our patented system, and the analysis is absolutely free. Make the best things about you jump out in searches. Protect your personal and professional reputation, your business, and your income. Get your free reputation analysis from reputationdefender.com right now. Call 800-831-0771. 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Or visit reputationdefender.com today.
As a doctor, I see patients every day who are losing their vision and independence to age-related macular degeneration, also known as AMD. It's the leading cause of blindness in adults 55 and older. Some of us are at greater risk for AMD. If you have blurry vision or blind spots, they can be symptoms of AMD. If left untreated, it can lead to blindness. The good news, with early detection, AMD can be managed with effective clinically approved treatments that can reduce or even reverse some vision loss. Learning that you have AMD can be scary, but there's hope and help. The Foundation Fighting Blindness is researching and developing treatments and cures for AMD. To get your free AMD information packet, contact the Foundation Fighting Blindness today at 1-800-BLINDNESS. That's 1-800-BLINDNESS. Join the fight against AMD, because together there is a cure in sight.
Dangerous blood clot device alert. If you or a loved one had an IVC filter placed to prevent blood clots from traveling to your heart or lungs and suffered an injury, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. The FDA warns that IVC filters may cause serious complications, such as heart or lung damage, internal bleeding, and even death. These dangerous blood clot devices can break, and the metal fragments can travel to your heart or lungs, causing serious injuries. If you or a loved one suffered organ damage or other injuries from an IVC filter, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Act now. Time is limited to file a claim. For a free consultation and free information, call Injury Help Desk at 800-478-1507. 800-478-1507. 800-478-1507. This is an advertisement. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. InjuryHelpDesk.com is responsible for this advertisement. Principal office, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Welcome back to the Stone Cold Truth. We're broadcasting from the Stone Zone, and now we have a guy that I have respected for a long time, Andrew Stein, a legendary Democratic public official, 5 terms in the state assembly. I remember like yesterday the hearings that he held into abuses in the nursing home industry here in New York, where he had to take on the entrenched special interests that were cozy with the Democratic machine. Went on to be the Manhattan Borough president. I was thrilled, actually, when he beat David Dinkins and Bobby Wagner Jr., elected twice as the New York City Council president. I was a great admirer of his father, Jerry Finkelstein, the publisher and Democratic power broker. But Andrew Stein wrote a really compelling piece this week in the Wall Street Journal explaining why he, a lifelong and proud Democrat, was not going to vote for Hillary Clinton and was going to vote for Donald Trump. So welcome to the Stone Cold Truth, Andy Stein.
Thank you, Roger. I appreciate the nice introduction, and I am supporting Donald Trump for president, even though I do have this long Democratic history and pedigree.
Yeah, look, I know your family and that you were long close to both John and Robert Kennedy, also anti-communist, hardline, but social progressive Democrats who I admired, speaking as a Republican. But explain to my audience why you have made this decision, because I know you, and I know you don't take things like this lightly. You're a man of principle.
Well, thank you, Roger. Well, I thought about it a lot, and I think that the country is really drifting, both economically and in terms of our foreign policy. So, the economic growth has been the slowest it's been in a long time. 1.5%. You have so many bureaucratic regulations that are really business killing. The word, thousands of them, makes it hard for somebody to start a business, and then the most business stifling of all the regulations is Obamacare. And I think that Donald Trump will rebuild, like John F. Kennedy and Ronald Reagan, promote tax cuts, which will stimulate the economy. We'll cut thousands of these business stifling regulations, and we'll do away with Obamacare. And on the foreign policy side, I'm very concerned about Israel, and I think that Donald will be completely supportive of Israel. And Obama has weakened our military with these cuts, and they don't even have spare parts for a lot of planes, and the sequestration. And I think that Donald will stick up for our allies like Sisi, who I think is a very brave guy and a real ally, and like the Obama administration, who supported the Muslim Brotherhood. I think that Donald will know who our friends are and will stick by them. And so I think it's about change and dynamic change. And Hillary represents is really the personification of the status quo. She voted for the two worst foreign policy decisions in my lifetime, which is the war in Iraq, which she voted for, which she used in the Senate. And then she supports the Iran nuclear deal, which I think is just a complete and utter disaster for our country.
Now, you've known Donald Trump, since the 70s, I guess?
Yeah, since the early 70s.
And I think you've seen a side of him that many people have not seen, because we both know him, and we both know he is not the caricature that some would paint of him. And, in fact, many people believe that you are the guy who invited him to come in and restore the Woolman Rink, the skating rink in New York City, in the park there, in Central Park, which the city had fumbled. Tell us about the Trump you know.
Well, the Trump I know, first of all, is a very warm guy. I mean, I remember after the Indiana primary, when he was a presumptive nominee and the whole world was watching, and I was there, and he got me aside, and he looks up like he's looking at heaven, and he said, "Jerry," talking about my father, "Jerry, where are you? We're having so much fun." And so that's the kind of warmth that I found over the years he exudes, and loyalty. And I was Manhattan Borough president, and this Woolman Rink city took 10 years. They couldn't get it built. And I asked Donald, "Do you think you could do it?" He said, "Absolutely, I'll do it in 6 months." And he did it in 6 months, and did it under budget, and faster than 6 months. So it's the kind of thing he's doing. And then I remember when there was a hurricane in Puerto Rico in the mid-'80s, and it devastated the island, and I called him and I said, "Don, we need your help. I'm raising a lot of money from different corporations and supplies, rather, to relief of Puerto Rico, and we need a plane." So he gave me a 727 for this effort, and it didn't even publicize it. So that's the kind of Donald Trump that people don't see, and the mainstream media is so against him, and it's just not the Donald Trump that I know.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And as you know, Andy, he's fun to be with. He's got a great sense of humor. He's got a terrific memory. He's just delightful to hang out with, and he's a regular guy. There's nothing.
Well, I always say he's like a blue collar billionaire. He's a regular guy. He's a lot of fun, and he relates to the ordinary Joe, the ordinary person, much more than Hillary Clinton will ever do. And he has a touch. He understands people, and he really cares about them. So he's not the stereotype that is projected in the mainstream media, that's for sure.
And you really see this in places like Michigan and western Pennsylvania, where he has an appeal to working-class Democrats and independents that, you know, country club stiffs like Mitt Romney could never duplicate. I mean, there are states in play here that only Trump could pull in.
Well, I think that he's going to surprise a lot of people, and I think he's going to win Ohio, and I think he can win Michigan, and there's a good shot with Wisconsin, and I wouldn't even be surprised if he pulled out Pennsylvania, because he does relate to those working Reagan Democrats, the blue-collar Democrats. They understand him, and he understands them.
Well, Andrew Stein, I wish you would get back into politics.
Thank you, Roger.
We need people like you. I know that you've served your time, as it were, but you did a lot of good things for the people. Michael Kramer was a great pal of mine, and he was the guy who drew my attention to your work to clean up the horrible abuses, not only of old people, but Medicare abuses in the nursing care industry. You took on some really, really tough, entrenched interests, and this is where I first began to admire you. So I appreciate your coming to the Stone Zone.
Thank you so much, pal. I appreciate it. Thank you. So kind of you.
And let's grab a martini sometime soon.
Would love to. Thank you.
Andrew Stein, one of the great public servants, a great name in Democratic politics, and a guy who has really served the people of New York well. Many, many thanks. All right, all you conspiracy theorists out there, coming up next is my arch enemy, my nemesis, I should say, not my enemy, Gerald Posner, maybe the last man on the planet who believes that Lee Harvey Oswald killed John F. Kennedy and acted alone in his famous book, Case Closed. But today we're going to be talking with Gerald Posner about the Saudi royal family and their relationship with the United States. Coming up soon on The Stone Cold Truth.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Today, how to incorporate your business in just 10 minutes so you won't lose everything if you get sued. Step 1, stop putting it off. If you're not incorporated and someone sues your business tomorrow, it's not just your business at risk. You can lose everything: your home, your car, even your life savings. Step 2, call the following number for a free 10-minute incorporation guide from Incorporate.com. 1-800-914-6977. They don't provide legal or financial advice. They just make incorporating quick and easy. So you can incorporate or form an LLC in just 10 minutes. That number again is 1-800-914-6977. Step 3, congratulate yourself. By taking just 10 minutes to incorporate your business or form an LLC, you protected your home, your car, and your life savings. And that is how you incorporate your business in just 10 minutes. But hurry while they're still giving away these 10-minute incorporation guides for free. Call 1-800-914-6977. That's 1-800-914-6977.
Are you tired of commuting to a job that makes someone else rich, working harder than ever, but getting nowhere? Do you hate spending hundreds of dollars every week on daycare, having someone else raise your children? With our opportunities, you can start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss, work from home, and live a happier life. At Be the Boss Network, you'll find hundreds of work-from-home opportunities that you can literally start today and be earning money as soon as next week. Go to freedom106.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss. Get out of the rat race. Work from home. Go to freedom106.com right now and change your life today. That's freedom106.com. Go to freedom106.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You be the boss. Go to freedom106.com.
This is Dan Pilla. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX, or my website, danpilla.com.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, the inventor of MyPillow, and like all of you out there, I had problems sleeping. Pillows would go flat, I would flip-flop all night long, I would wake up with a sore neck, maybe a headache, or feel like I needed a nap even though I slept 8 hours. When I invented MyPillow, I wanted it to where you can move the patented fill to give you the exact support you need as an individual, regardless of sleep position. MyPillow will get you into that deep REM sleep faster, and you will stay there longer. It's not about how much time we spend in bed, it's about how much of that quality sleep we get. I do all of my own manufacturing right here in the United States. I have a 10-year warranty. You can wash and dry my pillow, and I give you a 60-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. And here's my best offer ever. You can buy one of my pillows and get one absolutely free.
Go to mypillow.com or call 800-870-0305 and use promo code GCN. That's mypillow.com or 800-870-0305 with promo code GCN.
As a doctor, I see patients every day who are losing their vision to age-related macular degeneration, also known as AMD. If you have blurry vision or blind spots, they can be symptoms of AMD, and if untreated, could lead to blindness. The good news, AMD can be managed with effective clinically approved treatments that may reverse some vision loss. For free AMD information, contact the Foundation Fighting Blindness at 1-800-BLINDNESS. That's 1-800-BLINDNESS. There is a cure in sight.
Welcome back to the Stone Cold Truth here on the Genesis Communications Network. Next, we are privileged to have the author, lawyer, somebody I have followed for some time, Gerald Posner. I'm sure some of my friends in the JFK research community are going to be appalled, but this is a guy who you just cannot deny his intellect. I'll give you a little preview. He and I are going to debate on November 22nd of this year at Books and Books in Coral Gables, Florida, the proposition, Who Killed Kennedy? Gerald is the only person left on the face of the planet who actually believes the Warren Commission. And Glenn Garvin from the Miami Herald is going to moderate. I believe C-SPAN is going to carry it live. So if this is a topic that interests you, and I think murder mysteries interest virtually everyone, we're going to leave that whole debate about the Kennedy assassination, in which I know Gerald is formidable because he's a debate champion, and as you know, I've never debated before, for another day. What I want to talk about today is far more interesting to me, because Gerald Posner is the author of Why America Slept, The Failure to Prevent 9/11, which was a number 2 New York Times bestseller in 2003, and also Secrets of the Kingdom, the inside story of the Saudi-U.S. connection, which I must tell you, Gerald sent me and I devoured in a day. It's a terrific read. And I think he has a unique perspective on our relations with our allies, the Saudis. So let's jump right into it. First of all, Gerald, welcome to the Stone Zone here on Stone Cold Truth.
Roger, it's great to be with you. It's a treat.
So what is the evidence that the United States government does not want Americans to know that points to a high-level Saudi 9/11 connection?
Well, you know, Roger, let me tell you, on this, I may be the only guy left in America, you're right, that still thinks that Oswald alone killed Kennedy. But we can agree there's a conspiracy in the Saudi 9/11 factual layout that the American government has run hard to try to protect. And what it is that a captured al-Qaeda suspect we picked up in 2002, and we have down in Guantanamo today a guy called Abu Zubaydah. I disclose his interrogation in my book, Why America Slept, and in that interrogation in which we faked him, we did a false flag operation to make him believe he was being held by Saudis. He disclosed the names of 3 Saudi princes, one of them the nephew of the king and the holder of the largest media empire in the country, the guy who owned racehorses in America, won the Kentucky Derby with a horse called War Emblem, was in America on 9/11. He gave us their cell phone numbers, private cell phone numbers, and the private cell phone number of the head of Pakistan's Air Force. And U.S. intelligence didn't know what to do with that information. They finally gave it to the Saudis and the Pakistanis, and guess what? All those 4 guys ended up dying, one by a one-car accident, one by a blood clot after he had some liposuction, one by my favorite, the 26-year-old prince, according to the royal palace, by thirst in the Saudi desert in his Rolls-Royce 55 miles outside of Riyadh. He must have forgotten to take a bottle of Evian water along with him. And the head of Pakistan's Air Force gets blown up when he goes up in his private plane with his wife and 15 aides aboard. That's still not solved. Zubaydah is still down in Guantanamo, and one of the guys picked up with him recently told American investigators that he had overheard a conversation in which a Saudi cleric who told him to come back to the U.S. and take flight lessons had said, "Your Excellency," when talking to somebody on the phone. Nobody in the U.S. government is looking into the possibility that Saudi royals had foreknowledge of the 9/11 attacks. That's what's being hidden up here, and that's what's got me steaming.
So, very recently, the Congress, under pressure, I would argue, kind of started by Donald Trump and kept up by the 9/11 families, finally releases the 28 pages of the congressional inquiry into 9/11, something that Senator Bob Graham has been talking about for some time, former chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, by anybody's measure, a sober and respected legislator in his day, a former governor, a former U.S. senator. Yet the Central Intelligence Agency director, John Brennan, comes out and says, almost incredibly, well, those 28 pages really don't say what they say, meaning they don't mean what they say, and there's really no evidence that the Saudis financed, the Saudi royal family or their retainers financed the attack on America on 9/11. What do you make of that?
Yeah, well, first of all, I mean, there's 2 parts of it, and you'll get this completely, and so will your listeners. The U.S. government, held on to the 28 pages for so long that by the time the news came out, it was stale. That was news that should have been released back in 2002 and 2003. There were real leads to follow up on. Some of the people that they talked about in there were back in Saudi Arabia by 2003. We couldn't get back to them. So first of all, they held on to that news long enough that by the time they released it, Brennan's almost right, it is stale. And in addition, nobody's aggressively pursued it. I mean, for instance, Roger, when they picked up one of these al-Qaeda guys in 2002, who's down in Guantanamo today, they found an envelope, the Special Forces did near him, that had a number to the Saudi embassy back in Washington to a specific contact, together with a flight certificate for one of the terrorists that was supposed to be a hijacker and never got picked up. Nobody followed up on any of this because we decided that we had the suspects. It wasn't just one guy. It wasn't a lone guy, but it was our 19, and that was the end of it. And they had financed themselves, and we didn't want to go any further to find out what our friends knew, friends in quotes, meaning the Saudis.
Well, I almost know the answer to half of this question. I've always wondered why both parties have covered for the Saudis. I mean, I understand the Bushes. The Saudis were partners with George H.W. Bush at Zapata. They were underwriting his offshore oil exploration. Later on, although they try to disguise themselves, they are the ones who buy Harken Energy from George W. Bush, which is essentially a worthless money-losing shell, but they make George W. A wealthy man. Massive contributions by the Saudis to both the Bush presidential libraries. I mean, clearly they had been in bed with each other for a long time, but why have Democrats like Clinton and Obama covered for the Saudis? Or is their influence so pervasive that no one in Washington can resist them?
Well, I think part of it is what you just said at the end, that nobody has had at least the willpower to resist them, but the Bushes had the coziest and most in-bed relationship with them of anybody, as you just highlighted, no doubt. But that doesn't mean that the administrations like Obama and Clinton and all the way back to Roosevelt, Democratic administrations, haven't been in bed with them. A large part of that, everybody understands, is because they've been for the longest time the largest oil producer in the world, and they proved without any question in the 70s when Richard Nixon, who you worked for, decided to sell F-16s to Israel, and King Fahd had said don't sell them, and Nixon provided them in the middle of the Yom Kippur War. The retaliation was the oil embargo, and Americans old enough, your listeners old enough to remember, will remember the odd and even days and the long oil lines and oil going from $1 a barrel to $10 a barrel. We understand the power they have to punish us. And then after the debacle in Iraq that Bush sent us into in the 2000s, we need them as the counterweight to Iran. So all of a sudden the Saudis become important as sort of this Sunni counterweight to Iran's great ascendancy. So they've got double power on us in holding back Iran and at the same time supplying the oil. No wonder everybody's craven to them in Washington.
All right, we got about 2 minutes here, but let's try to knock it out. Was Bill Clinton responsible for the growth of Al-Qaeda, just as Obama contributed to the growth of ISIS?
There's no doubt that Clinton was weak all the way up on Al-Qaeda. He missed 3 opportunities to take out bin Laden. In 96, he didn't take out a transport plane when bin Laden and his whole family and all his aides were moving from Sudan to Pakistan. He didn't take an opportunity to kill him when we had identified him in 97 in eastern Afghanistan, or a year later in a city in Afghanistan. After the first World Trade Center attacks, he never visited the site. He never mentioned it publicly. Never saw his own CIA chief, Roger, for 2 years after the attacks. And every time they hit us, whether it was Somalia in 93, Khobar Towers in Saudi Arabia in 96, the East African bombings in 98, or the coal in 2000, Clinton's response was weak. It showed us as being weak. This was a president who, in the end, you have to remember, steadfastly refused to publish a list of U.S.-based charities that the FBI and CIA thought funded terrorism, and he resisted efforts to even name Hamas as a terror organization. So you want to say that Clinton was strong on terror? Not at all. He definitely helped Al-Qaeda grow in the 90s, just as Trump has said Hillary was responsible for ISIS. I mean, it's sort of a double whammy.
All right, the great Gerald Posner. I'll see you on November 22nd for the great debate on who killed Kennedy, but many, many thanks for coming here on the Stone Cold Truth.
Roger, I look forward to it. I'm practicing every day for the 22nd.
So let me thank a great lineup today. Gerald Posner, who we just heard, the great Lionel, Tyler Nixon, the marijuana lawyer, marijuana maven, Andy Stein, and, of course, former President Ronald Reagan. Thanks for coming to the Stone Zone right here on the Stone Cold Truth.
New York Times best-selling author Roger Stone brings you Nixon's Secrets. In Nixon's Secrets, Stone reveals how the Kennedys wiretapped Nixon's hotel room the night before the Nixon-Kennedy debate and stole Nixon's medical records from his psychiatrist's office. Stone lays out how Kennedy's running mate, Lyndon Johnson, stole Texas from JFK through voter fraud, while Mayor Richard Daley stole Illinois, and how JFK actually lost the popular vote. Get Nixon's Secrets today at StoneColdTruth.com. Roger Stone, New York Times best-selling author, brings you Nixon's Secrets. Nixon's Secrets shows how Hillary Clinton was fired from the 1974 Nixon Impeachment Committee staff for lying and violating Nixon's rights, and how Hillary tried unsuccessfully to block Nixon from the Clinton White House. No wonder Nixon, upon meeting Hillary for the first time, said, "She's cold, cold as ice." Find out more at StoneColdTruth.com.
Fully cooked, ready-to-eat bacon. I'm talking thick, meaty, center-cut presidential bacon. Savory and delicious. I buy some, I use some, I store some. Awesome. No refrigeration needed with a 10-year shelf life. NASA pack technology. Bacon. Fully cooked, fully hydrated, ready to eat right from the packed bacon, or warm and served. Life-saving, ready-to-eat bacon. 10-year shelf life bacon. Ships free at fullycookedbacon.com. Fullycookedbacon.com.
We use mobile devices right against our bodies every day, but growing scientific evidence has emerged showing serious health risks associated with exposure to EMF radiation emitted from these devices. The solution is Defender Shield, the most effective mobile radiation shielding ever developed. Defender Shield blocks virtually 100% of EMF radiation from cell phones, tablets, and laptops, and starts at just $64.99. Buy now at DefenderShield.com. For 10% off, use promo code GCN. DefenderShield.com, the worldwide leader in mobile radiation shielding.